doesn't have enough. Trying to hold on, trying to break through this Zarya, but there's just so much damage output. Continue to hold on at this point. This war almost unbearable. They've got to get out of there. They cannot die at this point. Ok, on y va. Il est encore première ligne. Ok, découpe le blitz.
Oh là là, les élèves qui arrivent. Non, il est en train de le massacrer. La porte du thermal qui est en train de chuter. Drogo.
What a build, what a strategy. And he's going deep.
He is in back. Oh my God, going after these swallows. The drones are pulled. He's killing absolutely everything.
Il a volé cette game définitivement.
Non, mais...
Allez, Violette qui va, Violette qui pousse, mais c'est GG.
Oh my God, what a game are we watching right now, Apollo? Because this isn't like any StarCraft 2 I've seen before.
Nurcio has done it. He's in the grand finals. An excellent performance in the first semi-finals. He has now got a shot to play for the global playoffs. We'll talk about that in a little bit as we prepare ourselves here on the analysis desk for the second semi-final. It's just around the corner. A big thank you, of course, to our lovely sponsors. Todd, this is my part of this. Get out, you and In Control.
I'm on my mark down there, okay?
You're so pushy. Thank you to the sponsors, Zowie, Razer, G28, Monster Energy, and of course, Alienware. Do remember to include the hashtag WCS, I've lost it, WCS and DH Open, and also the new one we've just created, hashtag Godchio, as Nurcio's made it to the grand finals.
Are you okay with the hashtags over there?
I wasn't, I was struggling.
Okay.
What's going
I'm
on?
sorry.
We got you.
The thing is you are also a DreamHack former host. Maybe we should switch roles and you can do this for a little
Because
bit.
then I have to move my box all the way over there. And, you know, do I have my runner here? Where's my latte? I need to move this thing.
Nurcio's made it to the finals, Kev, and he killed it today.
Yeah, he looked really good. And I mean, I thought it was going to be a close series. I did favor Nurcio, but I did not expect it to be this one-sided. But the more I think of it, the more it makes sense. Like, he just played super good. He has been on fire. We have said before, I mean, Pold has not looked as good as he did in the past. Everything, man. Like, the way that he shot down this big drop at the fort as well, that's not this fight, but a different moment. And in his final game, I think there was a moment where Pold could have picked up this map. I think that's the best position he was in all series long. But he was too patient, man. And if you can fight Ultras before kindness plating, you probably want to do it, Nate.
Yeah, you definitely want to.
Nurcio made the matchup look very simple, too. He's like, make Ultras win.
I mean, but that's the thing, though, right? He tried that.
It's not so easy, is it, Nate?
Oh, there's a lot more that goes into it, for sure.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah. Well, you got to defend the
Well, what do you
drops.
tell on your stream usually? What do you tell on your stream?
Oh, what would I say on my stream?
I mean, you are an educational Terran stream, after all.
Just throw everything that you possibly can at them before they get the Ultralisks out, which Polt didn't really do a good job of. I think that's been like a thing we've seen in his TVZs, particularly. You know, it's pretty much what happened in Austin as well when he lost there. It's like, well, okay, he just didn't get the harass done, which wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if it weren't for the fact that he's known mostly for being really good at harassing and picking people apart.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to give credit to Nurcio as well. There was this one moment on Runes of Endian where Polt would do his traditional big drop, big attack on the fort base. If Nurcio's out of position and that base gets cancelled, it's a different game, right? But Nurcio's spider senses were just tingling, moves up his army, 3 Medivacs fly in, Fungo across the bow. Well, that's the end of that drop. 2 out of 3 Medivacs die, and it was a very smooth victory, man. Nurcio has looked awesome. And the last thing I want to say as well, his run to the final, that's not an easy bracket. He went through Vortex, he went through Scarlet, also defeated Neep in the quarterfinals, and now Polt in the semis. It really doesn't get any harder than that. I guess some people would say, well, he didn't play Hydra, but I mean, he had his ZVZs. He showed that he's really good in that matchup as well. Played all 3 matchups and looks phenomenal, all 3 of them.
I wonder if he thinks about that. He's like, yeah, in the finals, he's going to get easier, right?
Well, perhaps for him.
Actually, either finals matchup here is is massive
I mean,
too. Like, imagine if MaSa made it to the finals, then you have the same scenario as in Austin. A Zerg beat Polt, then MaSa gets his chance to try and beat that Zerg, which did happen in Austin, and then in ShoWTimE, we would have to get one of the classic matchups that we have in Europe in ShoWTimE.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys can have a look at the bracket back at home as well to actually see exactly what Roddy and Todd are talking about. It's just on the left-hand side, Nurchio's path to the finals is, you know, remarkable. It's absolutely brilliant, and that now guarantees a new player alongside Zest, Dark, and of course Polt, who qualified from Katowice to play at the global playoffs. Nurchio, MaSa, or ShoWTimE is 100% going to be there. We'll talk about the semi-finals in a minute. We're going to have a quick look at the schedule as well. Timing-wise, no working around things here. We're getting ready for the second semi-final. It's 10 minutes or so away, and then of course the grand finals just around the corner. Currently now scheduled for 3:30. The current time is 1:30 or 35, technically 36 minutes past 1. So 3:30, 2 hours from now, should be the grand finals.
I also think it's worth mentioning that even if Nurchio won't win here, and you're a big Nurchio fan, you're like, man, I would have loved to see him at the global playoffs. He has collected so many points by now that I really think if Nurchio goes on a vacation of 7 months, I think he still will have enough points. I mean, semi-finals in Katowice, finals over here. Yeah, I think he's fine.
All right, Kev, it's time to bring out the players. It's time to go to the stage with Smix to bring the next semi-finalists on stage.
It is time for our second semi-final match of the day. It is an NA versus EU matchup where both of these players are looking to reach the grand finals of a premier event for the very first time in their careers. Please welcome on stage ShoWTimE and MaSa! ShoWTimE, we talk a lot about how you're a 3-time EPS champion, but as a competitive player, I'm sure you're itching to show that you can also be a champion on the global stage. But MaSa now stands in your way to the grand finals, so what are your thoughts before this match?
He's a strong Terran, and I practice mostly PvC, but I think I have some good stuff prepared for him. And my PvT isn't too bad either, so I want to reach the grand final and beat Nurchio. And I'm sorry, MaSa, but you're out here.
Well, ShoWTimE says you're out here. MaSa, when I spoke to you yesterday, you said everything seems to be clicking for you in 2016. Last week was your top finish yet, top 4 at Austin. And here you have a chance to one-up yourself and make it to the grand finals. We just heard what ShoWTimE has to say, so what do you have to say back to him?
Well, I'm at the top of the tide right now, and I'm sure it's gonna go down a bit later, but I'm at the top, so I have to keep it up. So, goodbye, ShoWTimE.
Okay, goodbye, ShoWTimE, says MaSa. Players, you may shake hands and enter the booth. Nurchio waits in the grand finals for one of these two players. It'll be NA versus EU. Let's head back to the desk to get this started.
Thank you very much, Smix. The smack talk is real in the WCS as these two players are moments away from beginning the second semi-final. We'll talk about the players in a couple of moments, but before that, let's see what they thought about the tournament so far.
My road was, at the beginning, like the first 2 matches were quite difficult. I won like 3-2 each. So that was quite hard and quite a nail-biter. And the next match was quite easy, like a 3-0. So kind of mixed between hard and easy.
He's always aware of this. He's going to go forward. The Hyder's kind of pinned backwards. He drops on top of the stage. Sword only gets one. Bailey, unfortunately, but it picks up the other 2 Overlords.
That's still really good for ShoWTimE. That's a decisive victory.
Absolutely.
My goal was like reaching top 4 again, because that was always I never reached top 4 besides last week, and then now the goal changed. It's going to finals. That's my goal. It's going to be really difficult, I think. I'm just going to hope that he messes up than me.
And MaSa is moving into the 3rd location of Chan. Ravage of Isle shots going down there, but not really connecting with anything. The Queen goes down.
I think I'm kind of a defensive player, and I'm very good at it. Like, just defending stuff, and also I can be unpredictable, because I know a lot of different builds. So I can play very aggressive or very defensive, and I think that's quite hard for my opponent. Yeah, I'm just feeling confident.
This is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Violet losing everything. The Hydras going down in droves. The Immortals on the victory march. There's a big warp and probably charge lots behind that. Violet's got nothing. GG is called. ShoWTimE.
I never faced him in a tournament, I believe. Same thing, he doesn't know how I play. And although he saw my game against Puck, that's totally different. I believe he doesn't like... I believe he wouldn't make disruptors as him. So him not knowing my style is advantage, but also me not knowing his style is disadvantage as well. 50-50. I'm not that confident, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to lose to this guy, you know? So...
15 drones have gone down. MaSa has really pulled a fast one here, but this counterattack here from Jam is his only hope.
I think I just need good rest, good night's sleep, and focus on the games. Just play my A game, and then I'm going to win.
Semi-finals is set. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, really liked the smack talk earlier on the stage. I thought they were going to start wrestling any second as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another hashtag for you soon, Sean. Like, you already struggled a little bit with the intro, but hashtag UFC is part of this as well, because it's going to go down between these young men.
Absolutely, and let's hope they bring it in the games. Let's have some crazy match, because I think that, you know, ShoWTimE, as good as he is, I think MaSa can really bring something in this semi, Kev.
Yeah, I like that they brought this up as well. They've never played against each other in a big competitive match. Maybe MaSa's led at some in Europe and ran into ShoWTimE, but you know, ladder games are very different. And MaSa is indeed a slightly different Terran. I think, Nate, you know maybe him a little bit better than I do, because you're a Terran player, obviously, and you like watching other Terrans. But I've always seen MaSa as a guy that has his builds very well set out. He's not like, okay, I'm going to scout and I'm going to react to whatever my opponent is doing. He's like, no, I've got a couple builds. I've got a build for each map. I have a lot of faith in these builds, and I'm going to execute them. That's kind of how I see it. But
yeah, when I think about MaSa in this matchup specifically, he did make good adjustments against a player like Puck, but Puck played a very unorthodox flavor of Protoss versus Terran. I expect to see a lot more straight-up play out of ShoWTimE, and for that reason, I'm expecting MaSa to stick a bit more to his guns. Aggressive two-base play, lots of heavy Marine tank pushes, and generally just trying to bulldoze over the German Protoss.
would you say a little bit similar to uThermal, maybe?
A little less cheesy, probably.
Less cheesy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prawn Terraces and Cold Carnage actually being vetoed here. No surprise, we've seen these most of the time. ShoWTimE, though, all alike. I think he's got a really good Protoss versus Terran. He probably won't admit to it, like no Protoss ever would, I guess. But there's a little bit of inconsistency to it. Not super long ago, he played against TY in a base trade tournament online, and he only lost by 2-3. Those were some great games, by the way. A lot of different builds, you know, Dust Towers went into Storm, then Mass Tempest with Mass Cannons. That was a crazy game. Mass Blink Stalker play on Frozen Temple is definitely capable of mixing in a lot of different builds on his own, so it's going to be a cool matchup between the two.
I like that you bring that up, because I walked by MaSa early this morning when he was preparing, and he was looking at that exact VOD, ShoWTimE against TY. So,
of course he was.
Yeah, both players obviously doing their homework. ShoWTimE was looking at a couple of VODs as well, but I like that you brought this up, looking at MaSa versus Puck earlier in the stage. Sometimes we say, you know, if you already played a big series of, you know, this particular matchup, that could really help your opponent, but Puck is so different than ShoWTimE that even though it's the same matchup, it's almost a completely different matchup. Has nothing to do with each other.
Well, what are your thoughts and predictions then? It's, I mean, the players are almost ready to go, so final thoughts and predictions, perhaps?
I'm kind of leaning towards ShoWTimE. I really think he's too solid. I do think MaSa is going to win at least one map, because he does have very strong timing pushes and he does have great execution of his builds, but overall, I'm expecting the German to be too solid over here, and I think we can get ready for a great PvZ Grand Final.
You know, I feel like I've actually talked down my expectations of MaSa so much over the last 2 weeks, and I have just consistently been wrong.
Terran bias, I feel it.
And wrong again.
Keep going, keep going.
So
biased.
Keep going.
I wanna give it to MaSa for this series. I do think it should be a close one, but apparently I've just been wrong about thinking that he doesn't have what it takes to make these deep tournament runs. So I want to not be wrong for once.
Thoughts? It's really hard. I feel like it's one of the closest matches here that we might see, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards ShoWTimE. Even though he's only played Zerg so far and his build is great in the matchup, I feel like he's going to have some very good builds that are going to... He's going to be able to adjust better to MaSa's style as well, and he's just a more accomplished tournament player too, so leaning towards ShoWTimE. 3-2.
All right then. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to get in game and start the second semi-final. Roddy and Nate, take it away.
Thank you very much, Sean. And some great TVP action. This is kind of cool, Kev. We get to see the EU versus NA so deep in this tournament.
And it's the European Protoss against the North American Terra. Nate, it almost feels like you against me.
Oh, wow, huh? Yeah, well, those games end pretty badly for me. We'll see if this guy can keep up your hot streak, Roddy. In the bottom left position, we have the German Protoss. He's ShoWTimE.
Super excited to watch this young man play. He's had a great run. He was down 2-1 in the round of 32. He was down 2-1 in the round of 16, even down 0-2, but he always survived and he always came back. I loved it.
Yeah, and his opponent in the top right, very successful in Canada, and finally getting some tournament results. Give it up for MaSa.
So cool as well to see another North American player having a lot of success on the big stage. We've seen them have some success in online tournaments, but the Europeans always look kind of down upon the North Americans. There were maybe one or two from time to time that had a respectable run, but now we see more faces. Even Chem had a very good run at this tournament. Of course, he had an easier bracket, but still, it's never easy to go far in a tournament. And I'm so excited, man. Our first map is going to be Dusk Towers, and I think if there's one map where if you are Terran and you can say, I've got a build, I'm going to execute it, it's probably this map, right? Because it's as straightforward as it's going to get.
Yep, and I think especially for the way that MaSa is going to want to play, I talked about this before the pre-match, I don't think that ShoWTimE is someone that you look at as a Terran player and you're like, he's going to have some crazy weird cheese. Like maybe he has some aggressive builds in his arsenal for Terran. Maybe there's a big 2-base, 3-base push, but you're not expecting puck tier, straight to disruptor drops, literally playing Blink Stalker Disruptor the whole match. That's not going to happen. I would be absolutely blown away if ShoWTimE did something like that. So
same here, but to play devil's advocate a tiny bit in the semi-final, or excuse me, the quarterfinal that ShoWTimE played. The first map he opened up with a Stalker against Violet. I was like, well, there are some Protoss players out there who would just kill the Overlord right now and then go for a massive 2-base all-in with like Adept, War Prism, but ShoWTimE is not that type of Protoss, and that's when he dropped 7 gateways. So maybe he is going to surprise us in one of these games, but other than that, I couldn't agree more with you. I'm expecting a defensive, very solid Protoss over here, and obviously I'm expecting MaSa to just try to execute his builds and not adapt too much to whatever ShoWTimE is doing.
It's funny that you do bring that up, though, because in my mind, I would have referenced IM Katowice or the Winter Championships and said that's sort of the build mixing aroundness that gives players like Pult their championship-winning competitiveness, but he mixed his builds up, and he absolutely got thrashed by Nurchio. So sticking to your guns this late in this sort of tournament may actually be the best thing to do. We will see. Twilight Council opening with a robotic facility, super standard out of ShoWTimE. But yeah, Glaives instead of Blink. Talk to me. Oh, wow.
Whoa. Okay, this is actually super surprising. I have no idea what this is supposed to mean. We saw recently a Tor push in one of the Korean leagues. I forgot which.
TY tried it against us, but no way. No, this can't be Thor. It's got to be something like really fast. Drilling Claws is the only thing I can think of that I've seen before. I think I've seen Marine Lord or maybe Bunny have a weird build with that, but if he does something like a Thor, I'm going to be super confused.
Drilling Claws can be pretty good. Look at the War Prism that's on the way. Is ShoWTimE actually doing the exact same thing
look
as
at
what? Look at the amount of gateways. It's an all-in. He does it again. He is doing it again.
All right, well,
He's gonna go 8-gate Adept War Prism all in. He's not getting a Forge here, so it's no +1. But with MaSa's weird build,
what a weird game.
Yeah, MaSa's gonna have very, very few units.
Yeah,
I think this is great for ShoWTimE unless he loses the War Prism.
This should be a pretty. I mean, I feel like for MaSa, like yeah, exactly. Look at this. He's invested into the armor. He's investing into this Drilling Claws. Drilling Claws will not be done by the time this attack hits.
He does it again.
The Liberator is nice against the Prism, but he should still be able to unload the first 4 Adepts and then warp in around the Stalkers to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a very solid point that you make there. MaSa has one shot. If he survives the first wave, he's going to be in great shape. Oh my god, he gets so incredibly close. But he sees the Prism. And this is already a very big tell. Does not see all the gateways, but I think now he may actually be a little bit worried. Like, wow, that's a fast Prism and Adepts in it. How many gates are you committing to? Widow Mines are going to be so incredibly important. Can MaSa kill the War Prism? If he can, I believe.
So he's walling off between his main and his natural. He wants to prevent the Adepts from being able to shade between the bases.
Smart.
Viking is really good to pick that War Prism off as it arrives. A second War Prism is on the way. He's going for the Roddy build here.
Yeah, oh, that's so cool. I love it. Yes, because you always lose the first prism. So what do you do if you lose the first one? Well, surprise, there's another one. Here come all these adepts, and this is going to be incredibly hard for MaSa, man. These Marines will not stand a chance. They may not get two-shotted, but it's still way too many adepts. ShoWTimE switching things up already in game number 1, and with that second prism on the way as well. I love it, Nate. I think this is incredibly smart.
Yeah, SCVs are not going to be able to pick off these adepts. 14, 20 almost now being destroyed as this fight continues. The Cyclone's going to pop out, but it does not do that much damage to those light units. Very important that Viking gets the prism. One warp and does finish off. The Liberator is going to deal some damage to the adepts, but there's just not really anything here to stop them.
I'm loving it, man. The double prism, because you're bound to lose the first one. I think this is the greatest thing that I ever came up with when I played against Hero Marine in the Home Story Cup. And I love this idea, man, because you know that you're going to have enough units to do so much damage to the Terran. The one way the Terran can survive is by killing your prism. So you make 2 of them. Brilliant. And I think this is game. Like 17 SCVs surviving.
Yeah, he's lost pretty much everything. These adepts are still going to work. Drawing the friendly fire of the Widow Mine also onto those SCVs. He's got no economy left. That Liberator's just like, okay, well, siege up, adepts move. Re-siege, adepts move again. And now he's lost everything. GG, ShoWTimE taking the first game here against MaSa. I'm not gonna lie, I've never seen MaSa pull that opening before. And I would love it if it was a 3-base build from ShoWTimE, because the Drilling Claws is super hard to deal with. It's going to hit before you can put an overcharge. And as a Protoss player, Kevin, I'm sure you can elaborate on this. You don't expect your opponent to have that, so you're more used to the time that it takes for that mine to burrow, which is normally 3 seconds.
No, absolutely. Drilling Claw builds can definitely throw you off, especially because a lot of Protoss players like to stay on a lot of gateway units in certain phases in the game, almost where they get up to 4 bases. And Widowmine is actually very good against all those units. Adepts, Stalkers, Zealots. It doesn't really matter.
Any of them.
Yeah, they're very good against it. So it's a cool build by MaSa, but this was pretty much worst case scenario, because whenever you go for such a crazy opening like that, you obviously have less Marines, you don't have any medevacs, Stim is, you know, light years away. It's just not going to happen. And against an all-in like that, you know, it would have been so much better for MaSa if he would have gone for a very regular build, maybe Reaper expand, then throw down another barracks, just pump out a whole bunch of units. And if he then picks up on the fact that his opponent is going to go for an all-in, he can keep all the units together, throw a bunkers, maybe he can survive. But going for a weird build like that, it's just very unfortunate timing. He couldn't possibly know, but he's going to have even less units to work with. And it's never a free win, but it's as close as it gets to a free win for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I mean, you rush up to tech this fast, and if you have that expansion, that means you do not have an army, an adept. Even without that +1, like you said, Kev, sure, they're not going to two-shot the SPs, they're not going to two-shot the Marines, but when you have so many more adepts than your opponent has Marines, and you know, that Cyclone's not going to be the game winner there for MaSa either, there's just really not a whole lot you can do. It just comes down to probably the build order just being a little bit too adventurous for him. And if, like we said, if it was just, you know, a standard, I'm going to gateway expand, maybe get the robotic, he could still get a warp prism and do some 3-gate harass. That's something that this build could hold off and take the 3rd base. Then I think we see where MaSa can really shine with this build, but unfortunately not going to be enough in that first game.
Nope. Second map is going to be played on Invader. Very cool to see the German Protoss switch it up though, Nate. I'm a big fan. He's no longer the predictable Protoss that he once upon a time was.
Nope, shaking it up in the bottom left, of course. He is the German Protoss. He is ShoWTimE. So cool playing out that trophy right between the two of them. They're so close to getting it. Whoever winning this having to face off against Nurchio. And in the bottom right of Invader, we have the blue Terran player. Team elevates MaSa.
And this is obviously very unfortunate for MaSa, because you go for a build which is a little bit adventurous, but you want to see how it does. You think you are sort of countering your opponent's build, and then you just get caught off guard by, you know, what is kind of considered to be a silly build, right? It's a massive all-in by ShoWTimE, and MaSa is probably kind of hitting himself. He looked a little bit frustrated as well after game 1. It's like, wow, if I would have known that you were capable of doing anything like that, if I would have somehow knew that that could be a possibility. If I would have just played normal, man, I would have probably won that game.
That's, I think, what stings the most. It's not that it was a build where it's like, oh, you know, he did this weird build and caught me off guard. It's like, I did a weird build.
Yeah, exactly.
And I lost because if I had just played standard, I actually think I could have been able to hold it off. That's what really hurts the most for a player like MaSa. But he's going to open up with a gasless expand, just a single, you know, barracks into command center. He doesn't want to take that chance. Of course, this is not really a good map for Reapers. You have to go through the natural to get to the main. So I can see why you'd want to skip the Reaper on Invader.
Yep, and also this is going to allow him to get a lot of Marines out very early on. With the second Rex, he's going to get even more units. So ShoWTimE decides to do Again, something very adventurous, something crazy. MaSa should have the right amount of units to deal with it. Wow, what a first game to kick off this second semifinals. It's the last thing I ever expected. It was really cool to see, though. Frustrating for MaSa, obviously, but he's got to be a champ right now and just forget about it. It stings, like you said, but you know, it happened. You got to focus on Invader now.
Yep, and you know, this is just MaSa sticking to his guns, right? He's going straight to 3 barracks, getting his gas geysers, so he wants to play the old TVP. Be a little bit surprised if he didn't take his second gas geyser soon, but look at this. We have a Stargate on the way for ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I kind of like Stargates with these positions. Obviously, horizontal means you spawn very close by air, so it's going to allow oracles to make their way across the map very quickly. You know, I actually think that Phoenixes are pretty damn good on this map against Terran play, but I don't know if ShoWTimE likes playing Phoenix against Terran, so I'm not going to make that prediction. But I think it can make some sense, because if you just try to defend with Blink Stalkers, it can be a little bit tricky, especially once you're on 3 bases and you try to go up to 4 bases. It's really hard to cover everything with just Blink Stalkers, especially because it's so easy for the Terran to drop you, and that's why some Protoss players like going Phoenix here, but I think it's just going to be an Oracle.
Yeah, I mean, both options are pretty solid, but the Oracle will get there very quickly, and that is going to be an Oracle on the way out. MaSa's actually sending a couple of Marines across the map. I'm not entirely sure what he's hoping to run into. Maybe he just wants to check the tower, but if he pushes onto his base, I mean, an Adept or two are gonna make mincemeat of these Marines.
This could actually be a little bit tricky. I'm not sure how many Marines MaSa left at home. Okay, he is leaving a couple at home, and this is very smart because the engineering bay is only halfway done, and that Oracle is going to show up before any turret could possibly be up. So it's very important that MaSa leaves enough Marines at home, because the last thing you ever want to see happen in game number 2 after you're already down 0-1 is lose 6-7 SCVs because you've got no Marines and no missile turrets in position.
Yeah, that's an ugly way to lose game 2. So the Oracle is going to come in from the north side. The Marines are already here, as you said, Roddy, so immediately get to pepper away the shields of that Oracle.
Yeah, that's very good, actually.
Whoa, he's got a fleet beacon? This early?
Whoa. Okay, I'm actually very surprised.
He's doing all your builds today.
I definitely don't want to take that much credit, Nate. I highly doubt that ShoWTimE watches.
It's not Arena, right?
Well, it is a second start. This could be Tempest. I really think it could be Tempest, because I do not see any point in going carriers, because then I think you just die to any sort of Marine with stim attack. It has to be Tempest, and this is a very good map for Tempest. It reminds me a little bit of the BlizzCon final. You remember where suddenly we saw Tempest being used by SOS against Live on that crazy map? I forgot the name of it. No, not Nimbus.
Different? Well, how far back are we going? I wasn't sure.
The last one, I forgot the name of the map, but it doesn't matter. But it made a lot of sense because there was so much airspace between the bases. There we do see it, man. Tempest, second Stargate. I would love to see even +1 air weapons, because that means if Vikings get out, he can one-shot them with just 4 Tempests. This is so cool. I love everything that ShoWTimE is doing.
This tournament, we've just seen so much craziness. We got like this Tempest thing going on. We've seen carrier pushes. Like, I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know why we're here, man. We can't analyze this stuff. I haven't seen this before. This is insane.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because there is, it doesn't take very long.
Yeah, the air distance is super short, and you can't get Marines underneath the Tempests here.
Yep, and that's the most important thing. And that mineral line is so incredibly exposed. Like, this is a build, guys. ShoWTimE would never, a good scan by MaSa. MaSa knows what's up right now.
He has a second start pod, I believe.
Yeah, so, oh, really?
Oh, yeah, he's had another one in production. I wasn't sure. Okay, still just on one.
Yeah, just one. So what do you do right now? Missile turrets are not going to save you against Tempest. Like, they'll buy a little bit of time. Counter-attacking is not a bad thing against Tempest, but let's not forget that ShoWTimE is actually building a lot of gateways at home, so he can make a couple of adepts, but he doesn't have any upgrades. So the war on the ground is still going to be rough for ShoWTimE. This is so cool. I have no idea how this is going to go. Because the counter-attack from MaSa can be devastating. He's got +1 as well. Like, this army is not strong. However, Photon Overcharge is.
There's 3 pylons there, Kev, so you don't need to, take a long fight. All you need to do is stop them once, and then that Tempest count is going to be high enough to contest in a lot of ways. The Oracle's there with the tag, as you pointed out, and just getting so much damage on. There's another gateway going up, so ShoWTimE could actually go on the ground to force more pressure up if the Marines run back into the main base.
Once again, he doesn't have a Twilight console, so these gateway units are not going to be as strong as these Marines. He has to wait for the medevacs, obviously, but he's doing a tremendous amount of economic damage already. 11 SCVs has gone down. You don't want to bring Tempest back, though. It takes too long. ShoWTimE, you got to be careful. Guardian Shield, Force Field, Photon Overcharge, and that's going to keep you safe for a bit. MaSa could potentially drop, though, but then again, dropping when you know there are Tempest out on the map is scary.
Yeah, really risky.
But he's got to do something because he lost 11 SCVs, and that's not a good spot to be in.
Yeah, ShoWTimE does have to be careful with that Mothership Core energy. If he burns out too much of it, as you said, without any upgrades, these units don't really fight very effectively versus Bio on the ground.
What's the Viking count? Because he stopped after 2 medevacs, I believe.
4 right now.
Okay.
He has a 5th on the way.
That's not enough, man. Against 5 Tempest, you need at least like 11, 12, 13 Vikings if you want to put up a decent fight.
That's such a scary thing to think about, too, because the Vikings are generally not effective in ground engagements after the air's been cleaned up, but that has so many Tempests.
Yep, and he stopped building Tempest, so even if ShoWTimE would end up losing... Oh, this is actually kind of good, though, because MaSa right now knows that most of the units from ShoWTimE are out of position. He does pick up a couple of adepts, actually 3 out of the 5 there. He's going to go for the counterattack. ShoWTimE is going to go for the big attack on MaSa's base. Man, this is going to get crazy, Nate.
Yeah, there's the first frozen overcharge ready to push it back. I'm glad he didn't pull the trigger on,
He should drop now.
He needs to hold them together.
MaSa should really drop right now, Nate.
Yeah, you could, just try to bypass him. You're right, the Stargate's not being used anymore. Definitely opens that opportunity. There's the Vikings. They got tagged mostly. This is really important for the Tempest to be able to get him. And he has to be careful with the positioning on them, though, because we do have those 2 Widow Mines next to the rocks. If he flies too close to that north side, he could get tagged.
Big shout out to the SimCity. That's actually kind of tricky to attack into for gateway units because he really has to focus fire. Otherwise, they start shooting at supply depots, bunkers, and that makes it like, finally, there is the drop. And this is a very, very good drop. Pick up that pylon and go for the mineral line. This is a great move by MaSa. Absolutely the best move he could have made.
No more energy in the Mothership Core. This Protoss army is pushing towards the front. We had a Widow Mine detonate over the Stalkers, but the Warpin's back home. Enough to defend for now. Cleaning this up. The Tempest still pushing forward. The Viking count is growing, though, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting scary. The good thing is, though, that drop at least for some defensive weapons, but it's still looking really bad for MaSa, man. Look at the supplies. Army supply, he's down by 30.
The natural expansion has been pushed back. That main base was put under so
Widow
much
Mines
pain
are
earlier.
scary because he has no observers. He has no
detection.
No Oracle anymore either. So these a couple more Widow Mines, 3 more Widow Mines. Good force was there, and he also sniped 1 Widow Mine.
Yeah, super important. Manages to get it off. Another one of the Vikings. There's only 3 left. Just 1 Viking left as the Adepts and the Stalkers continue to shoot at the SCVs. Great force fields, and GG is called. ShoWTimE goes up 2-0 against the Canadian Terran MaSa.
And how cool was this build, guys? Like, once again, yeah, if they would have spawned opposite, right? Like, if MaSa would have spawned on the left top side of the map and ShoWTimE would have spawned at the left bottom, so vertical spawn, he would never do this build in a million years. I'm convinced by this. But with the horizontal spawns, it makes sense because the Tempest, A, they make it to the base so fast, and B, like you said, they're protected. Marines can go there.
Yep.
So, and it's even hard for the Marines to walk all the way to the other side of the map.
The rush distance is so long.
Like, if you would do this on the arena, it's also tricky, but it becomes a little harder for Tempest, A, to reach the mineral line, and B, it's a lot easier for Terran to just send their units across the map.
Yeah, because the rush distance is non-existent on arena. What a great series that we were seeing here out of ShoWTimE. I love the shakeup because we look at him as a solid player, and I still feel like he's not going to be throwing out the puck builds, but he's got his own builds that are really spicy here. MaSa just getting caught off guard so hard.
Yeah, and I can't really blame him, right? Like, game number 1 is just like one of these rather unfortunate games.
Game 1 was more like, okay, kind of like a build-ish loss because, you proxy an armory, you're trying to get tech that's not going to be in time. Game 2 is just, he just seemed to be so caught off. He's like, well, I didn't think he was going to go Tempest after his Oracle Rush.
And I think like it has been done before, right? Because it makes sense, and it reminds me really of what SOS did against Life on a moment where you don't really expect it, but the more you think about it, it's like, wow, this makes a lot of sense. But the execution from ShoWTimE was really solid. I still believe that MaSa should have tried to drop faster, because this drop would have done something, and he did force out at least a lot of defensive weapons, but by now it was just a little bit too late. Good use of force fields as well. ShoWTimE just executed this build very well, and he got the revelation off on the Vikings, which made it impossible for the Vikings to ever win the air war against the Tempest.
Yeah, the revelation of the Vikings is super important. The Tempests have a lot more range than they do have vision. And the ground units, they have a little bit more time maneuvering because, the Widow Mines, obviously, they don't, the gateway units have less range. And then at the same time, the bunker is also going to help hit those units too.
MaSa had 2 Widow Mines there, but then he had 3 more that he tried to run towards the army. If MaSa can get 5 Widow Mines, I mean, I know that's a very high number, guys, and it took a while for him to get it. But if he would have had those 5 mines in position, then he could have defended. But ShoWTimE said that's not going to happen. Sniped one, force fielded off the others, and that's it.
And already on the cusp of making it to the grand finals is this man, our red Protoss in the top left, Millennium's ShoWTimE.
And he's switching it up today, Nate, and I'm a big fan, man. I think it's really cool to see. Game number 3, we may see him just go back to what he knows best, though, and just play solid. But so far, it's been all, you know, great news for the German.
Yeah, just a great series for him together. And this guy really needs to get himself rallied together to make this push back. He's MaSa.
Definitely a rough series so far for the Canadian, and this is one of these series where, once again, if you look at the games, it's like you're down 0-2 in a best of 5, and it kind of happened before you even really realized what happened, right? Game number 1, you face an Adept all-in that was very popular in the previous patch, but let's not forget, guys, back then the Adepts were 2-shot Marines, they were 2-shot workers, and they were just a lot more powerful. Ever since they needed 3 shots to kill a Marine or an SCV, the build became a little less popular. Some people still do it, like Strange did it against Polt, but Strange did it with a Forge and +1, and that of course changes everything.
Yeah, that slows it down a little bit. Hey, you're gonna hit a different timing, maybe less Adepts if you want to get it out that fast. This SCV does not want to get tased to death. It's not a pretty way to go in the first few minutes of the game, but ShoWTimE going for that Nexus after the gate, and MaSa just trying to hide. I mean, you put the second depot here, you don't need it for supply this early in the game, but what it's going to do is prevent the probe from scouting. Now, ShoWTimE doesn't know if MaSa opened with gas, he doesn't know if there's 3 more barracks, he's going to do some sort of Marine SCV all in. It could be pretty much anything, but we know it's just a, just a command center after that barracks.
Yep, which obviously means it's a little bit less economic than building a command center on the low ground, but at the same time, you keep your opponent in the dark, and that does mean quite a bit. It's going to be a 3 Rex follow-up, so MaSa at least is going to have access to a lot of Marines and Marauders early on. I kind of like this build, but I also feel that you should make some sort of a move out maybe with your Marines and try to catch a very greedy Protoss off guard.
It's very similar. I mean, it's pretty much the same sort of way, except for obviously the wall off to block the scouting that he just opened on the last map. But I like that the point that you brought up at the start of this game. You're pretty much like, well, this series just went to 0-2 before he even realized what's going on. We haven't had any long, drawn-out games. It's been that really sharp timing that MaSa was just, his build was just awful against in game 1. And then in game 2, MaSa's getting brutalized by something that he probably rarely plays against.
Yep, I mean, that's something you face 1 out of every 10, 15 games, because Invader is also not a map that plays super often. And then, obviously, this is not a build that was possible if you spawn vertical. So then the only times you could ever get practice against it if he spawns close by air against the Protoss, on Invader, on horizontal spawns.
Super rare.
Yeah.
A lot, especially since a lot of players that aren't Zerg veto that map because of how hard the third base is to take.
Exactly.
So far, we see that very standard opening from MaSa. Nothing unusual. We have a robotics facility coming out here for ShoWTimE. That Twilight Council is booting up as well. It could be...
no.
I mean, it could be that defensive blink, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, I thought you were going to say it could be the same thing as we saw in game 1.
Not.
No, that would just be super... No, it's just 2 for now.
Okay.
Does he have any gas in the natural? No.
How about that Artosis pylon, though?
I've heard it's an in-control pylon, but it's not really catching on.
He's trying to, stop trying to make in-control pylon a thing. In-control pylon will never be a thing.
It's not a thing. That's funny. I think it's just going to be defensive blink this time, Nate. I think it makes a lot more sense with the Observer on the way as well.
My heart would not be ready, especially since there'd be so many more Marines than there were last time since he has the 3 barracks.
MaSa, like this, if this would have been the same scenario for MaSa in game 1, he would have been able to defend that build.
Yeah,
I'm
this would have been great.
it.
I think this would have been a great setup. The only thing you'd have to worry about is just if he moves his Marines out on the map as the War Prism arrives. But theirs is, Blink is coming in, Factory's finishing up, Stim's close to halfway done. This should be... at least so far, the longest game of the series.
Where are the Marines? Are the Marines moving out? Or are they marching?
I think there's just 1 in the top. He left a good amount back home. He's taken the watchtowers, but
if he would have ran across the map right now with his Marines, which obviously is a little bit risky because he doesn't know what he's playing against
super
yet.
YOLO.
Yeah, but he does get a cancel on this base because it's basically 2 Stalkers and maybe a pylon, but I think most of the time you're going to be able to get a cancel on it. However, now with 4 Stalkers obviously have a lot of kiting potential against Marines. ShoWTimE doesn't really know yet what he's playing against, so you want to keep your units at home. Just running out with your Stalkers is very risky because if a medevac shows up with a Widow Mine, well, your unit's out of position, you lose a lot of probes. But now he kind of knows. He's like, okay, late starport, a lot of Marines. I know exactly what I'm playing against. That's why I like the Prism, because obviously as a Terran, you want to get your units together, you want to get your medevacs out. The moment Stim is ready, it's like, all right, let's march across the map. And that's the moment that the Warp Prism shows up, wipes in a couple of Adepts, and you're like, man, shoot, Protoss. I don't like it.
Yeah, and this is, I think, something that we talked about a bit earlier, and what I'm mostly looking for now is this Marine comes up, scouts this, but that defensive bunker, MaSa already thinking about the possibility of being attacked early on. He just salvaged it. But the other thing is, MaSa has shown in a lot of the games that I've seen him play that he likes to stick on the 2 bases. So is he going to try to make this big push and put everything in this, or is he going to get that third command center?
I don't really know why ShoWTimE is bringing the Stalkers with the Prism, because he needs a follow-up. Just Stalkers is absolutely not going to cut it over here. This is a really good scenario for MaSa. He should just stim forward and try to go for it. Oh, imagine if he would have killed. Yeah. What's the follow-up for ShoWTimE going to be? Is he going to go for the Adepts? Is he going to go for Charge? He needs something. Just Blink Stalkers. I mean, I don't know how good his Blink Stalker micro is, but it needs to be parting level if he wants to kill a whole bunch of Stim Marines and Marauders.
I think we've seen a lot of Protoss games thrown by trying to play around with Blink Stalkers against Just Bio. That War Prism is going to make its way into the main base. Marines are here to defend. It doesn't get shoved back. Combat Shield's close to finishing, but still, that's Twilight Council. Funko was just showing us we don't actually know what's coming on.
Go for the pylon, MaSa. MaSa should try to go for the pylon over here so he doesn't have to worry about photon overcharge. Well, instead he's going to go for the probes. He does get a whole bunch of them. ShoWTimE needs a follow-up, guys. Like, I mean, he's just going to actually try to do this with pure Blink Stalker. The moment that MaSa identifies this, MaSa should just wait a little bit, get an unhealthy amount of Marauders. You know, instead of fighting with 3 or 4 Marauders, you get 7 or 8. And that's the point where you cannot lose. No, this is getting risky. Because I think if ShoWTimE gets all his units here, he could potentially out-micro this army. MaSa should just go back right now, get +1 attack, few more Marauders, and do it all over again. And then it's going to be very good news for him.
Like you pointed out earlier, I'm just kind of shocked he hasn't started Resonating Glaives or Charge.
Yeah.
What is the supplement going to be? Just pure Blink Stalker.
Did he forget it?
And I mean, Adepts?
Yeah.
Adepts are good. Sure, Adepts are great.
I think he forgot it.
Without Resonating Glaives, they can't compete.
Okay, there he goes.
We go. All right.
Yeah, I think he just forgot it, man, because this upgrade could have been done already. And if it's done, then it's not too bad.
Then he can really trade.
Yeah, because, I mean, this reminds us of Zest, right? Like, this is what Zest loves to do. The Blink Stalkers, the Adepts, a couple of Sentries, and then eventually take 4 bases. Be out there with your units, but don't really want to fight until you truly transition. Unless the Terran really wants to fight and runs into force fields. Yeah. So...
Well, it's just the way that Terran versus Protoss works right now, right? Terran has the stronger late game as far as going into the Liberators goes. If Protoss can get Tempest, you can mitigate that. So Protoss is going to take more money early on, but if MaSa can't get much done, that money can really roll things out of control and set ShoWTimE up for a big push pre-Liberator.
I like that Funka is showing us this Observer because that's very important. Will the Ops see the drop coming? Let's take a look at the vision of ShoWTimE. Yes, it does.
Man. So MaSa wants to go for a 2-pronged attack. Great on this map as the War Prism attacks the 3rd base, but Stalker's not quite going to be enough. Can he defend the big push on both sides?
Well, he might be okay over here, but the other drop is going to be hard. There's only 1 pylon here, which I'm a little bit surprised by. It kind of scares me. Glaive's still not ready, but that's something that MaSa can't possibly know.
Yeah, +1 armor is also about to finish. I mean, he could click on one of the Adepts, but he might just assume at this point that if he's playing with Adepts, he can have that upgrade.
You know, it doesn't take very long to get that upgrade. It's not like +3 shields or something. That takes 4 years. This harass has been very weird and interesting, by the way. 4 Blink Stalkers in a War Prism.
I think Adepts are generally a bit more effective for harassment-wise.
Yep. I'd be lying if I said I was a very big... Oh, this is risky though, MaSa. Oh, good move there, going back. Because if he would have gone to the left side, that shows that Blinks forward. Yeah.
Not good. So he's going to try to push in now towards this natural. There's a lot of pylons here if he needs to fall back, but Resonating Glaives is done. Widowmine takes a pot shot at the Adepts. And a lot of Blink Stalkers to hold that off. So still not getting too much done. Sees this drop with that probe trying to place pylons and the fusion core. This is the most important part for MaSa. This map is kind of open. There's a lot of angles to attack from, but Liberators with the range upgrade are so good versus Protoss.
This is going to be a rough fight for MaSa. Can he be able to save a couple of units over here? Yes, he will, because the Stalkers can get in range. I must say, though, I'm very impressed by ShoWTimE's supply. 160 supply while going double forge. Like, that's pretty sick, man. Like, I know he went up to 3 bases very quickly, and that MaSa's build was not the most economic build out there, but despite the fact that he lost 11 workers, he's still always been up in workers, and he's been double forging. It's pretty impressive. And he has a War Prism out on the map.
Yeah, he's macroing like a champ in this game. Charge has booted up, Dark Shrine is on the way, and the Fusion Core is ready. The 2nd starport's done. He's getting the tech labs. We're going to see that Liberator range upgrade. This is easily the most important upgrade in the game after Stim. When you're playing Terran versus Protoss, it makes it so much harder. It's going to force ShoWTimE to think about that Stargate tech again.
Okay, so there's one thing that I think is extremely important right now. MaSa should not go for any big engagements, any really big fights or commitments before he's reaching 185, 190 supply. These Medifacts get spotted, but believe me or not, I actually think that's good for MaSa, because just a triple drop, if that's the only thing that's going on in this game, it's not going to be super important. But against massive gateway units, Nate, like mass gateway styles, are incredibly strong against any army, in my opinion, up to 155, 160 supply. But if the Terran maxes out, I really think that's where the Terran army dominates mass gateway unit.
Yeah, really important as this War Prism drops the Adepts in. It will get picked up by the, by the Liberators, but trading out a bit here in the center position, you're right, there's a lot of army for him to fight against. He saw the Fusion Core, by the way. That's super important to point out. He knows that that Terran army is just going to get stronger and stronger.
Yep, I'm worried here for MaSa. MaSa should not have been out here on the map, man, because now he's dropping supply again. Now he's only at 152. He's hovering around 152. And ShoWTimE probably wants to attack.
Yeah, that +2 armor and charge is about to finish. And that, you know that, Kev, that upgrade advantage when you're using Zealots against Marine Marauder is so tremendous.
Okay, ShoWTimE already thinking about the next phase as well, dropping that Stargate after he saw the Fusion Core. But I still think a maxed out ShoWTimE here should attack, and that's exactly what he's going to do. And it's a very difficult hold for MaSa. I don't think he's got enough.
Yeah, he's pushing it from both sides, but that first Liberator on the right side immediately destroy the force fields, limiting the engagement area as all of these Adepts swarm in. There's no more Liberators except for this last one. He's about to pick it off, and that's it. The Adepts are on top of the army. The Stalkers are firing down upon them, and one more Liberator finishes just as the battle seems to be turning too far to be saved for MaSa. ShoWTimE looking for a clean sweep to go into the grand finals. Liberator range +2. Barely not finished at the end of this battle for MaSa. GG!
Wow, sick performance by ShoWTimE here in the semi-finals. So we are going to have a rematch in the grand finals of the Intox Remasters Katowice. But the funny thing is, Nate, back then they played against each other in the round of 32. Now it is the grand final. That's a pretty unique story. ShoWTimE versus NerdShow, but I mean, what a game, what a series by ShoWTimE. I love the variety that he showed in his build.
Dominant.
But at game number 3, I really felt there was a game where I think if MaSa just sits back, you're playing against Mass Gateway. There's only one thing that Protoss wants when you play Mass Gateway and you've got all the upgrades. That is like to fight before the Terran is maxed out, because that's when bio units really starting to have like their full potential. But MaSa made some commitments, lost a couple units here, lost a couple units there, and then he's at 155 supply. ShoWTimE's maxed out, and it's like, all right, then it is ShoWTimE, Nate. That's when you go for it.
And I love that ShoWTimE does that style specifically on that map. He had so much area to work with, because if you're playing that on Dust Towers, Mass Gateway, it's like, well, getting around, kind of getting that in circular position, getting concave, a little bit trickier. But when you have all that space on Frozen Temple to throw those Adept shades and get a super wide concave, that around that third in particular, it's so nice. And also, as you said, you're trying to fight against Mass Gateway units. It's just not going to work without a lot of Liberators. Like, Liberators counter them so hard, too.
I think you can do it without that many Liberators, but you need to be maxed out. That's it. Like, or Widow Mines, or Ghost, or Liberators, but one of those things.
He bled out a lot on the horizon.
Yeah, exactly. Just an awesome performance by ShoWTimE, man. I really don't know what else to say, and I do agree with your analysis there. Like, he was just bleeding out too many
And being ahead
units.
on upgrades for Protoss, like that armor upgrade advantage is always so nice to have.
Yeah, one last thing. I do think that MaSa got a little bit mind-gamed in this series, because the opening he's going for in the last game, like that opening has one weakness, and that's very fast 3 Nexus. If you can get a kill on it, he got a couple probes, that's nice, but he went for an opening that he should have gone for in game number 1, but obviously he can't possibly know it. But I mean, ShoWTimE was just overall better builds, better execution, and better mind games.
Yep, absolutely great play by him. He's on the main stage. Let's hear what our second grand finalist has to say.
ShoWTimE, this was your first top 4 in 2016, and now for the first time in your StarCraft 2 career, you are in the grand finals. What is that like?
It's amazing.
Especially in front of this crowd.
Yeah, like I love this crowd. Like so many people are here and cheering. It's really awesome.
Now, ShoWTimE, when I spoke with you earlier, you said that you mostly prepared PvZ, as you did play 3 Zergs to make it to the top 4. But then you've played MaSa, who is the first Terran you met at this tournament. So how is your preparation headed into this, as you only had 1 night to do so?
I was pretty much just thinking about different builds for the maps, because I feel like it's important to play the maps in Legacy of the Void at the moment with the map pool. So I watched like a few VODs of him, but he plays like pretty much standard. So I just like did my builds that I do in practice, and it worked out like perfectly.
Yeah, it was a very, very smooth 3-0 for you. And now you are in the grand finals, where you will be playing NerdShow, where it'll be very interesting. A lot of people are anticipating this match because it's a rematch from the round of 32 where you faced him at Katowice. Fortunately, that didn't go your way. It was a 3-2 loss for you. So, I mean, how are you feeling about this? You must be excited to have that opportunity to play him again.
Yeah, I'm really hungry for revenge. Because like Nurture always beats me in tournaments, so I'm really annoyed by that, and I want to beat him, definitely.
All right, then. Well, you'll have your chance at it, as it will be ShoWTimE moving on into the grand finals, where he'll be playing Nurture.
Thank you very much, Smix. A good performance by ShoWTimE, and what a morning we've had. We've had 2 semi-finals that have finished both 3-0, and here we are in the grand finals almost.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. But I really want to mention something here that makes me very happy. Back in Austin, we had 1 European in the semi-finals, didn't make it to the finals. Balance has been restored here in France. 2 Europeans in the grand finals. What's up?
Hey, I'm European.
Yeah, you could join in on the
You're
celebrations,
American.
Kev.
I just hop on the bandwagon,
You're
guys.
pulling a Huck here with the double passport shenanigans.
Whichever region is winning, I'm representing. If America does well, I live in America, guys. And if Europe does well, well, you never forget where you come from. So.
And if Port's in the grand finals, he's like, well, I spent a lot of time in Korea over the years. Nate, I mean, the games unfolded like that. ShoWTimE easily disposed of MaSa.
You look at MaSa's playstyle, he's kind of like just a very standard play. Like, okay, maybe you go for a 2-base push, something like that. His game 1 build was just so random to throw out like that. Like, I can see where it works because it's Dust Towers. Like, okay, Protoss is surely going to play a macro style. Like, I'm not going to have to worry about that. ShoWTimE's not going to all-in me in the first game of this series. And that was precisely why he lost so hard, because I don't mind his build. But whenever you do something technical like that as a Terran, you're like, oh, I'm going to open with like a Raven in case he goes DTs. It's like, well, if he just does a straight up all-in, that tech is going to prevent you from having the army you need to defend.
I think ShoWTimE plays very well to his image too. Even like in the pre-game, he's like, yeah, I'm a defensive player.
Yeah.
Game 1, like, hey, here's a War Prism with 12,000 adepts. What's up?
And the double prism, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, how awesome was that? I love it, man. Because as a Protoss, we all know that feeling when we go for that all-in and you lose the prism. You're like, man, I really think I would have won that game if I didn't lose my prism. That's like the only way I could have lost.
So boom,
the backup prism. I love it, man.
New meta.
Redundancy is key.
Next month, 3 prisms.
Well, that leads us then to the grand finals. We can check in with the bracket one final time here before we prepare ourselves for the final clash of this 3-day tournament. And what a tournament this has been. Nurture, who has been absolutely unstoppable, now goes up against ShoWTimE, who in the past has been brilliant in this matchup. And as you guys said, it is a rematch from the round of 32.
And it's also a very traditional final in the sense of 2 of the strongest nations in Europe going up against each other. I mean, obviously Sweden was very dominant in the early stage of StarCraft 2, Wings of Liberty, Ukraine as well. But I really feel over the last few years, it's mostly been like the Germans and the Polish players. So it's really cool to see Germany versus Poland. Obviously France as well. France maybe mostly
not in this tournament.
But like traditionally, both Germany and Poland have been very dominant in the European scene.
Earlier, actually, I was looking at the bracket. I was like, who did very well here that usually doesn't? I was like, yeah, China did very, very well. Who did very bad that usually does well? And then I was looking at the bracket. I was like, let's just not say it.
Well, that's just around the corner now, gentlemen. I'm going to thank our sponsors one last time, of course, Zowie, Razer, G2A, Monster Energy, and Alienware. That's it now for the semi-finals. We're completed. Just around the corner, we're going to be starting the grand finals. Get on social media, hashtag WCS, hashtag DH Open. Get hyped. Nurture versus ShoWTimE is coming up.